And it was just a super crazy experience to talk to the doctors and the nurses using Google Translator. Hello people of YouTube, and welcome to another video from my room here in Lima, Peru. So today I'm going to talk about something very interesting. Many of you guys don't know, but about 4 years ago I went to China as an international student, stayed there for about a year, and that's pretty much how my channel started, to share with you guys my life in China, to vlog my trips, things like that. Although it's been a while now, I feel like I still have more things to share from that experience. So as we are at the beginning of the Chinese semester, I just figured this was a perfect moment to talk about the things I wished I had known before going to China. But before we start, if you haven't watched my previous video yet, I invite you to do so. I've put a link up there so you can click and go directly to that video. I appreciate that a lot, and now with that being said, let's just get to the video. The language barrier is huge, and this might sound quite silly because obviously it's China we're talking about, but my mistake was to think that as English is the global language, I'd be fine even if I didn't speak Chinese at all. Wrong. But don't freak out. If you're traveling to China for tourism, you'll be fine because you'll probably be on a tour or whatever. But if you're traveling to China for a longer period of time, just as I did, I would recommend you go with a basic Chinese just so you can move around on your own. The truth is, it's really hard to find Chinese people who speak English. It's probably easier in larger cities such as Beijing or Shanghai. I'm not really sure about Beijing, but definitely Shanghai. That city is super internationalized. But if you really want to immerse yourself in Chinese, I would recommend you go to non-popular cities so you can, get the full experience. Something I want to mention here is that the school staff might probably already expect you to know how to express yourself in Chinese, but again, that depends on which uni you go to. My friend, for example, went to uni that had a specific department for international students where they guided her through all the admission process, answered every single email, and supported her in whatever she needed during her stay in China, and everything was in English. That was not my case, clearly. My university also had an international students department, but from the very beginning, even when I was not yet in China, I had to send emails and communicate with them in Chinese. It really depends on how you see it, because it's good the fact that they make you speak Chinese, because after all, that's the main goal of an international student, to speak Chinese. But it can also get quite frustrating, especially when you want to talk about a serious topic where you need to understand 100% of what is being said in that conversation. Like, I remember I lost my wallet, and inside my wallet I had a piece of paper that served as my passport at the time. You probably don't know this, but when I tell someone something, I just like going into details. So it was very frustrating to me not to be able to do that. So at that time, the only thing that came out of my mouth was 我的护照丢了 which pretty much means I lost my passport in English, and I didn't lose it. Somebody freaking stole it and left. If you want to know how I got my wallet stolen in China, I'm thinking about making a storytime video soon just to share everything, like all the details, everything that happened that day, and just click that subscribe button if you don't want to miss it. All in all, as I stated earlier, I would recommend you have at least a basic level of Chinese so you just don't miss out on anything and just get the most out of your experience. Another thing I would have loved to know is to not bring so much stuff in my suitcase. Before going to China, I filmed a video showing everything I was bringing to China, and it was just a lot. And it's a common mistake to make since it's China we're talking about. To many of us, China sounds like a super exotic and different country to go to, so you're probably not sure if you'll find all the products you regularly use, or maybe you're just super determined to not buy anything and just spend your money traveling. I was one of those people, and I literally packed all my life into one suitcase. And that resulted in me paying around $230 for the extra luggage I got when coming back home a year later. The worst part is that the content of that suitcase was worth way less than that amount. So pack light, definitely, because you'll be able to find most of your stuff there, I'm pretty sure. Plus, things are very cheap, so you'll definitely buy things, for sure. Thing number 4 is to download a VPN before going to China. There's this thing called the Great Firewall of China, which basically doesn't allow you to use Google, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, WhatsApp, and whatnot, so you need a VPN to bypass it. Make sure to get one before traveling to China, because otherwise you'll be in trouble. It really hasn't happened to me, but I had friends who found it super hard to download a VPN while in China because ding ding ding, the Play Store wasn't working either, so they couldn't download anything. I am not sure how it works with iPhone because at that time I was an Android girl, but just play it safe and download anything you have to download in advance. I would have loved to do proper research before going to China. I mean, before winning the scholarship, I studied ancient Chinese culture, so I totally missed researching about the current culture. And by that, I mean how people behave. My mistake was to think that Chinese people were like the Japanese. And I know it sounds super silly, but that's because I'm Latin American, and I'm pretty sure all Latin American countries have a lot of things in common, so I thought Asia was like that too. Big mistake, I know. And with this, I want to say, do your research, don't assume things, watch videos of people sharing their experiences because you will learn a lot, and it will also help to minimize the culture shock so you adapt and blend into the culture. Number 6, before going to China, I studied Mandarin for like 3 years, and as soon as I got off the plane, I realized I knew nothing. Literally, I didn't understand anything, my mind went blank, and it's true. It's 100% true when people say that practicing a language in real life is completely different than learning it in a classroom. Besides, the study pace was different as well. Back home, I used to study just a couple of hours every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, while in China, I had 5 courses. One focused on grammar, the other one for reading, speaking, listening, and writing. I remember I used to learn a bunch of new words every single day, and I was definitely not used to that fast pace, so I struggled a little bit at the beginning. Something I would have loved to hear back then is to not compare my own study progress with others, because I remember I was super embarrassed to say that I had studied Chinese for 3 years when there were people that studied for only 6 months and they were at the same level as me or even on a higher level. And I think I've said this a million times already, but people are different and you are the only one who knows yourself way better than everyone else. So be your biggest competitor, set small learning goals, and keep track of your progress to motivate yourself to go even further. Number 7, it might not be that easy to make Chinese friends. Before I went to China, I imagined myself having many Chinese friends so that I learn a lot about their culture and improve my Mandarin skills quickly. I wanted to learn more during that year than what I learned in 3 years. But after I arrived in China, I realized it was not going to be that easy because since the very beginning, we were separated from the Chinese students, and that made it super difficult for us to get to know them. But don't get me wrong, there's always a chance to meet them on campus. Like if you're an outgoing person, it'll be just a piece of cake for you to approach them and talk to them. I only did it once and I was with a friend and they were super cool about it. Another option would be to use the Chinese version of Tinder. I know guys what you're thinking, but that's an option too. I didn't do it because I didn't want to get to know Chinese people that way, if you know what I mean, but I had a friend who did and he actually practiced his language skills among other stuff. So do what you think is best for you, you know? I would also recommend you find out if there is a language school on campus, because there might be the possibility to meet students who are studying your native language. So that's the perfect opportunity to find a language partner. Breaking the international bubble is also very important. I know it's hard to get out of our comfort zone, but that's the best way to immerse ourselves in a different culture and learn the language. That's a big challenge because from the moment we get off the plane, as international students, we're destined to live in an international student dorm. It feels nice, I'm not gonna deny it. It feels very nice to have a little piece of home even when you are far away from it, but it can distract you from your main goal, which is learning the language. For example, during my first few months in China, I hang out with Peruvians all the time, which allowed me to practice my Spanish, which doesn't make any sense at all. I mean, it's good to keep your friends close and also to meet people from other nationalities because the cultural exchange part of the experience is also very important. So the key thing here is to manage your time well and to sort out your priorities wisely. So now to address the medical part of this video, I would like to recommend you get a full body checkup. I mean, I know that to get the Chinese visa, you gotta get a physical examination anyway, but apart from that, just go and get an in-depth whole body examination, because believe me, you don't want to go to the hospital while in China, and that's not because I don't trust Chinese doctors, but because of the language barrier. Hospitals for foreigners do exist, but if you're not in a major city, they're probably not. A friend actually had to stay at a hospital overnight, and it definitely wasn't the best night of his life. And I also had to take someone to the hospital during my year in China, and it was just a super crazy experience to talk to the doctors and the nurses using Google Translator. Also, bring your meds with you and make sure they last for the duration of your stay, because Western medicine is different from Chinese medicine, and it's also hard to find Western medicine in China anyway. I never wore a face mask while in China. Terrible mistake, I know, and my lungs probably hate me for it, but it's very important to check the air quality daily. Yes, as you heard, daily. Just as you do when you check out the weather forecast, you need to do the same with air quality. Contamination is no joke in China, and that's why there's several apps that are very helpful, because they tell you if it's necessary for you to wear a mask that day or if it's safe to go for a walk and just play sport outside without it. And finally, something I would have loved to do is to get the most of every single national holiday to travel. I know traveling on a holiday is probably the worst idea for most people since everything gets super crowded, but that's pretty much the only option we have as students, unless you want to do all your traveling on the long break we have between semesters. Unfortunately, my Chinese university never gave me their academic calendar, so it was impossible for me to plan trips in advance, and that's why I only visited nearby cities during the holidays. I literally went to Beijing 3 times and I went to Tianjin twice. Not that I regret it, but I just know that with a little bit of planning, I could have used that money to visit other cities, you know? China is an incredibly large country. Every single corner of it is different and has its own unique beauty. So my 1-year stay in China was definitely not enough to visit all places I wanted to see, and to this day I still have this bittersweet feeling every time I think about it. Okay guys, so I think I'm gonna end this video here. Just want to say as a final comment that it doesn't matter how much we may want to plan things in advance. The most important thing here is to be open to all possibilities and just expect the unexpected. You may have an idea of what you want to do during your stay, but it's only when you get off the plane that you start to live the experience. And believe me, if we're open to all these possibilities, opportunities will come, and for better outcomes than we could have ever imagined. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up, and don't forget to hit that subscribe button if you want to keep hearing from me. This is it for this video. Thank you so much for watching. I really hope you guys like it, and please look forward to the next one. Bye bye!